Good morning, New Eden. Today is November 13th, 2022, and this is the Federation Frontline Report. I'm your host, Frozen Fallout, and my co-host is Night Flyer.
Hey, good evening, everybody.
Today we are interviewing Zaenis Desef of Safety Alliance, and also talking about how everything has changed for faction warfare. So, Zaenis, how has space been treating you?
It's been okay. It's New Eden, so we get nerfed again, but we're gonna keep ganking. Nothing's stopping us.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about with the changes that have come to ganking now. You guys don't get alphas anymore.
That doesn't affect us as much as people seem to think. Like people are like, oh, that's a big nerf for them. It's really not. What it stops us from doing though is recruiting, because we used to be able to be like, hey, just roll an alpha, get these few skills, come join us, and now they can't, right? So that's the one way it hurts us. But otherwise, like, I mean, everyone who's ganking, like, we're all using alpha or omega accounts. So
yeah, so you guys weren't abusing the system of just. And I mean, it's harder because it's the alpha system. So unless you're actually cheating, which is to use more than one alpha on you're personally doing that, getting all of your buddies like that aren't playing Eve already with omega accounts, is you can't mass do it. You can trickle it, right? Is the concept. So like you were saying, recruiting gets hit, but in general, you're not able. You weren't abusing it before, and it wasn't really abusable before because of the restriction of one.
Exactly, one per computer. Yeah, it was a good balance before. I mean, I understand their rationale for this one, but I don't agree with it, but I understand it.
I mean, maybe it's not safety that was abusing it, but I'm sure that there was somebody out there, who just had 40 VMs and had it all set up so that, and doing it, quietly. Because there's a lot of quiet stuff that happens in Eve that nobody knows about at all.
There
it's
are
not talked
tons
about
of
on
gankers
Reddit.
tons of gankers who don't have their stuff signed up to Zkill, right? So, and if you don't post them and you're not signed up, then it never shows up.
Yep.
So there's a ton of people like that. So, whereas we're flashy. We want you to know who we killed. So we're attention whores.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting change. What about the not being able to dock? How is that?
So the tethering and the docking changes are pretty big. They just mean it's just going to cost us extra money, because if you plan on doing the tether ganks, which have become pretty much the way to do it for any of your freighter ganking, you just have to maintain. So basically, we will only be ganking. Here's a tip for you guys: we'll only be freighter ganking in 0.5s, and you'll have to maintain your character somewhere between -2 and -4.5, because once you get to that, you won't be able to tether anymore, and then it becomes very difficult to get. We used to gank before tether existed, and we could go back to that. It's just more of a nightmare. So the cost, I understand this change from CCP. It's like, well, let's do this and it'll cost them some money. And honestly, that makes sense to me. Again, we don't like it, but we will adapt. For as far as like minor ganking goes, like for those who are ganking hulks and Mackinaws and things like that, literally nothing changes, because most of us staged out of just NPC stations anyways, and then you would just undock and go, and so the only thing that'll happen is if the target docks up or moves, then you've lost those catalysts, right? You can't redock them.
Okay, yep. So Asia Park asks, is ganking a profitable gameplay?
It definitely can be. I don't think anybody who's in safety ganks for the sole purpose of profit. Mostly we're doing it for, people will say, oh, they're doing it for the lulz, and that's why it's griefing. And it's like, we're not really doing it for the lulz. We're doing it for for the message, I guess. You know what I like, the RP message and the interactions. Like we get funny interactions, and I know,
It's an activity
Calm Down
that
Miner. Yeah, it's more of that. And I mean, so is it profitable? Like, I mean, yeah, I've ganked 800 mil Mackinaws, right? So they dropped me
yeah.
600 mil in loot. That's that's almost 100 catalysts.
So is safety, is it bring your own ship usually, or is it usually a handout?
No, everybody's kind of got their own stockpiles, and whoever's running the fleet hands out the ships. Basically, it just makes it easier.
Okay, so would you have then? Do you guys do like freighter ganking quite a bit, or is it more on haulers? Because freighter ganking, I would imagine, would be where you make a lot of money.
You can, yeah. Freighter ganking's that's the big ticket where those are the ones where we're looking to make money.
And then that's a corp like kind of thing. So you give that all over to the corp because the corp's providing you all the ships anyways. So
exactly.
For a corporation, it's profitable. For the individual in safeties, it's probably you're not like going out there making money at all. But if you like, I used to do a lot of this. You can do solo ganking and make quite a bit of money. You do is you sit a scanner outside of one of the, or at least is what I used to do, is just sit a scanner outside of one of the trade hubs, like Dodixie, Jojita is another good one and stuff. But you just scan, and every Iteron that came on through, and just wait for one that had 1 billion ISK or something like that inside of it, and then
you just pop it.
You just pop it with a. We used RD tornadoes. So that I could just be one tornado. I would just we'd get 2 cycles off on you, and you would be able to like pop 85, pretty easy. And that kind of ganking is definitely profitable, and it's a big thing on like don't fly around with a bunch of fucking ISK in your haul unless you know what you're doing. There's if you got a cloak and a DST. Oh man, you can go around all you want. If you fit yourself so you can do the cloak trick with an Iteron 5, yeah, I'm not going to be able to fuck with you. But there's a lot of gameplay involved in it. I've done I've done quite a bit of ganking in high sec back in my days, and I had a lot of fun with it. And the tiers are kind of interesting. I don't want to say like I don't want people to play Eve, because I want people to play Eve. I just want 100%. You to know what Eve is, and that this is you can't be flying around the bling, because people bring a lot of they just like, oh, it's pay to win, and it's like, no, it's not. It's just, you got to have a lot of understanding of the game in order to utilize some of the stuff that you can get for ISK in this game, and ISK is obtainable through money. And skill points are attainable through ISK now, which I'm fine with that too. I think
I'm not fine as someone who sells skill points as my main income source. I hate it. I would take it out of the game if I could. I hate what skill points have done to the game. Like buying skill points. I hate it.
Interesting.
When you had to learn all the skills to fly the ships, there was a like awe factor to like, oh my god, I can finally fly a Titan.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And now when you see a guy who's in a Titan, you're like, well, did he actually learn those skills, or did he pay for it? And so there's always that question of like, you didn't earn it the old-fashioned way. I don't know. I'm old school like that, right?
Yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from. I've had friends, and I'm 15 years into this game, 16 years now, just last October, and I technically was in the beta, so I got to like jump into the beta for the first time and just go, what the fuck, and then jumped off and didn't really ever play the game again. But I was like amazed by it. And then 2005, I had a buddy that started playing again. I jumped on for a little while. And once again, I was just like, I can't wait till, like, oh my god, look at that Megathron. Like, that was the coolest thing. No. Why would you ever shoot me for going to low-sec? I don't... Fuck pirates, man. They're evil bastards. We're going to hunt them down and kill them. And just having fun, like, with this awe-inducement of the game. I can say, though, that from a perspective of trying to get people to come back to the game, I think it kind of helps to a certain degree because it's like, well, I can't catch up, and yeah, I could just buy another character
Right.
with ISK, but that's not my character, like I
Well,
want
oh
my
yeah, no,
dude to
absolutely.
to do stuff. I can see some of the awe being ripped out for that. But yeah, so I do have a bunch of other things I kind of want to jump over to real
Yeah.
quick just to do a little change of pace. But real quick, Rampant, thank you so much for the follow. And Johnny Punisher says it's pay to lose. And yeah, pretty much. Like, I mean, if you just dump like $1 million into this game, you're just gonna lose that $1 million over time. Because I mean, there is some marketing. I mean, I guess if you came in as the stock, market kind of person, like I'm gonna buy low, sell high with my $1 million that I put it, but you can't extract it anyways. But anyways, so Zaenis, tell me, how did you get into EVE Online? What was the thing that brought you to us?
So I imagine, like everybody, you would see the news articles about, oh, this guy did this backstab thing. Like, I know for sure for me it was the Matani and the Bob thing.
Mm-hmm.
I read an article about that, and I'm like, this is the type of game I want to play. Like, this is the type of game I've always wanted to play, where like there were real life, real life, like real consequences for things, and that you could affect, one person can infect the entire game, right? And I was like, this is exactly my type of game. And I came into the game, and so I started in 2009, and I didn't get it right away. Obviously, no one gets this game right away. It's huge. It's enormous. It's daunting, and we didn't have the new player experience we have today. But yeah, and then so I, as everybody does, I joined a mining corp when I first started, because I'm like, well, I need to make money. That's the way to make money is mining. And we got war decked, and my little guy's here. And so we got war decked by a we got war decked by a corp, and my CEO said, hey, just stay docked up for a week. And I said, what are you talking about? I'm like, there's 9 of us here. There's one guy in system. Let's go kill him. And he's like, no, he'll just kill us all. So just stay docked up for the week. So then I ended up convoying that guy and being like, hey, like, tell me what you do. I want to know what you do in the game. Yours sounds more exciting.
Yeah.
And then I ended up joining that corp and became a douchebag ever since.
That's awesome. So you pretty much you dipped your toe in and then just went straight into the deep end of ganking, which
I didn't really get into ganking for many years after that, but I was still like, I was doing war decks and high sec for a really long time, and then I moved to low sec, where you could, back then you could still pirate and ransom people, and they would pay ransoms.
Yep. Yeah. Not something that
so,
can be done today, really.
No. And that's the problem. Like, there's no piracy, and this is why I still do the ganking stuff, is because there's no piracy in this game anymore. But ganking's the closest thing to piracy.
Yeah, and pretty much you're just you're blowing them up and just taking their goods instead of like the idea of ransoming. So yeah, that's it. So tell me a little bit about the war decking. So when you first started off, you said that you got into a lot of war decking. What year was that, and have you seen the changes to all of that, and what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so it would have been late 2009, early 2010, when I was in that one war decking corp, and I learned sort of how to PvP with them. The problem is they were EU guys, and I'm in the States, so it was tough to really hang out with them. I had some days off where I could play during the middle of the day, and that was fine, but that became the biggest problem, and why I had to leave was just because no one was on when I was playing. But yeah, we would war deck just random mining corps, and we would war deck RVB and Eve Uni. We war decked them, and then we would just run around high sec trying to kill people. It was fun. I moved on and made another corp, and we were war decking as well. The new war deck system is good. I mean, when I saw the stats about people getting war decked and then quitting the game, like I'm like,
I heard that was a big bad that was a statistic that you had to address.
Right.
From
and
CCPs.
and to me, and to me,
because
I'm
ganking
like,
doesn't do that. Actually, the data does not support that. It
does not.
It shows that because there's a difference between shutting you down 24/7 for weeks on end and shutting you down one time and making you go, like, now I have passion in this game. Like, I felt something really
and I mean,
harsh.
it was really bad. It was really bad back in the day because you could put every person on the enemy corp on your watch list or on your friends list, and you would know when they were online. Because they couldn't, because back then it didn't have to go both ways.
Yep.
So if you had them on your friends list, they would just show up when they were online, and so you could just camp them in locator agents. Where are they? Okay, and we would camp them in stations. Like, I mean, we weren't nice to them. It was just the way we played the game, right? And then we got into like safarying and things like that. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically where you join a corp and then you start killing your corp members. And then if you stay out in space, they weren't able to kick you from the corporation. So you would stay out there and then say, oh, pay me $1 billion and then I'll leave. And they pay you and you don't leave. And you just stay docked out until downtime. And yeah, we were not nice guys.
Nightflyer, did you do any?
Allowed those fun things. So,
have you done any war decking at all? I've done it one time for low sec reasons of fucking with this one guy. So I have a little bit of experience, but have you had any experience with that?
I've been war decked. My alliances every now and then. You're in high sec and they'll war deck you, but it's never really bothered me that much. We just don't fly blingy stuff out of Jita and you'll be all right.
Does Network still do war deck mechanics these days, or is that a lot less or not at all?
It's been a lot less. I don't know that it's had any real impact on our contracts at all.
So, I mean, because I understand that the war deck mechanic now is that you have to have a high sec. Do you need in order to war deck somebody, you need to have one in high sec. You can't have one in low sec.
Right.
You have to have one in high sec. You designate it as your HQ, and then your goal is to destroy a.
Yes, their war HQ ends destroying their war HQ ends the war.
Right, and each side. So
each side, yeah.
Yep. So you designate one.
Honestly, it's fair. It is a fair mechanic.
Yeah, if you want to have a structure up,
it used to be. But yeah, it's not. It is fair. It's as fair as you can make it, without the chaos that it was before.
So Alice Winfield says, so all of the high sec gankers are joining FW now. Good to hear. I don't think that's the case. Not
yet, but I mean, like I know Ico had an alt in before, so I won't be surprised if a lot of us are trying it out. So,
I mean, it's definitely something that I am super stoked about. I love the changes that have come in, to FW at this point. And I think everybody should just get an alpha into faction warfare at this point. The money is insane.
Is there any downside to using an alpha account in faction warfare over an omega?
Downside in that your selection of portfolio of ships that you'll be able to use has diminished. So that diminishes your capabilities to a small degree. And I mean, sometimes to a great degree when it comes to solo PvP and to some minor group activities. But at this point in time, really, if you get into a Atron or Tristan or whatever, and you can do the scout sites, you can probably even do the small sites without too much of a problem solo and get some solo PvP possibilities. But with the 5-man sites, the standing fleets, the way that they've been, at least since the patch has been out, with objectives coming with these battlefields that they're going to have, which are PvE, PvP sites that they're going to have, where it's going to be the Galente and the Mimitar, or Galente and the Caldari will have two fleets that are smashing into each other. There's a point and beacon that you've got to hold down, and then you got to bring a fleet because the enemy side will start shooting you with their NPCs, and it also gives a bunch of LP, like a shit ton of LP from what I hear. So you're going to want to be fighting over this site.
Interesting. I hadn't heard about these battlefield ones yet.
I didn't hear about them until just recently. I was like, wait a minute, what? And then they got delayed by a week because I was like, what are these battlefields? And why didn't I go to the test server? I'm an idiot. Like, but yeah, there's I would say that if you are looking to get right into a community in EVE, it's even better than Horde. Because you jump right in, at least for the Galente, is that you can get right in. Any standing fleet that you join will give you a link to Discord. You do have to sign up on their Discord, but once you're in their Discord, you're getting fleet pings that you can easily choose not to. You don't have this participation or CT, like crucial time attendance is not a thing there are form-ups that are happening, and we want you to be participant in it. And sometimes we have fleet doctrines, but a lot of the times it's like fleet doctrine, and then there's a kitchen sink underneath that of like, people that are doing what they want, especially standing fleets. We are just all doing our own thing and then being like, there's a fucking Dominic's on the open. I've got him tackled. Bring in the shit. And then like 5 people die holding him down, and then like we get a big fleet in there and blow him up. Or
see, this to me sounds like peak EVE. Like this is exactly what I've wanted EVE to be for many years.
Yes.
And what I wanted Faction Warfare to be for many years, because like, I mean, I was in Faction Warfare years ago and it was okay, and then I was in Faction Warfare earlier this year, and again, it was okay. But this, what you're describing sounds like the pinnacle, like the best version of it.
So there is a question, and there's a lot of people talking about this recently, about standings, right? So am I gonna fuck my standings? Well, you're in Faction Warfare, yeah, your standings with the Caldari, like regardless of what they actually are, is that you're fucked with them. That you can't go to Jeddah. But once you get out, you might not have any effect whatsoever on your standings. So I'm gonna
I noticed that the last time that I joined, that I didn't get any negative, because my Mimitar standings are really bad, and so I have to join Amar. And when I joined Amar the last time, I'm like, oh, I might make it where I can't get into any Mimitar space, and it didn't change at all. So I was PvPing like crazy. So
I just posted, and it always breaks it because there's a comma in there for some reason.
Why is there a comma?
I don't know. Some things will accept it, some things won't. But if you copy paste that in, or just look up Faction Warfare standings in Wikipedia, so UniWiki, the faction losses that you get really only come from, and this is for the enemy militia corporation, enemy militia faction is for declining or failing missions, and I think being promoted.
Oh, really?
And killing NPCs for a mission, which missions are gone. Like, I mean, not gone, but they suck now. Go do plexing. That's going to help the war effort. That's going to make you a lot more LP and a lot more fun. The 5-man plexes will get you, like, you're going to go hang out with people. Like, regardless of whether you're on comms with them, 5-man plexes are now the place for people to come and hang out.
And is it even LP across the 5 guys? Like,
yes,
or is it
all 5 people get like 28,000 LP or 30 or 50,000 LP. Like really it's and right now it's selling. So I just sold 3 Navy Moros BPCs for 2.5 billion ISK. Just straight up. So I didn't have to do any work for that. If you build Navy Comets right now and Navy destroyers, like, I think are really great, because like I think they're selling around 30-40 million ISK right now, and it costs approximately like 10 million ISK and like 10,000 LP in order to like do that. So you're you're making out pretty well. At this point in time, you're about 2 to 3 million LP, or sorry, 2 to 3 million ISK per 1,000 LP for turning on stuff.
That's really good.
And so a site that's a scout will take you 10 minutes to do, a little bit over because you got to kill the rat. And it's like 20,000 if you're in the 5-man, because there's a little bit of a boost for the 5-man even. And up to 5. So let's say you have 10 people, though. That's just going to be a 50% reduction to the amount of LP that you're getting. So even when you're in a 10-man gang, you can make a lot of LP doing these, especially since it's like, oh, I just finished this one. I'll warp over to the other 5-man that's open right now. Somebody else has been in it for the last 9 minutes, and I got 1 minute left on it, and now I'm going to get all this LP. Plus, all of these people are getting that LP. So that's 100,000 for like basically a novice, 10 minutes of work, which is about 200 million ISK worth, if you're just doing trade in with a BPC at this point in time.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So there was some couple statements here. I joined a rando high-sec group week 1 and got war decked. Our CEO paid mercs to come FC fleets for us. Mad respect for that move. That immediately got me into PvP.
That's really good.
That's rare,
that's
though.
That's a good CEO. That's a good CEO.
Yep, that they handled that properly. And the network does contracts. So if you do have a structure that and you are getting war decked, then definitely there are mercs out there that are taking contracts for that stuff like that. So.
And some better than others. Just
yes.
But a quick step back towards ganking. I know I've always been kind of a fan, not a fan of it, but appreciative of it. I've flown in public fleets with Zaenis and the crew with my alt and did that. Great times. I don't do it regularly. But as a new player, coming into the game, it was just that added extra excitement that came with, I have to mine because that's how I make money when I've only been in the game for a few months. But just knowing that anytime, like, a fleet can come in. And then watching your streams, we kind of learn how to get around that. Like, code or safety, they're set to red. So when they come in the system, well, don't mine in the system then. Move on. It's been that easy.
The answer is so simple.
And, Princess Psycho came into Heck the other day, and my alt was in there. And I was like, oh, I'm docking up.
Yep.
So...
It's really simple. And I mean, when I was ganking a lot, there's reasons I don't gank on stream anymore, and one of them is they've kind of fucked around with the way the clients use my CPU and video card. So running 6 accounts
and
is
streaming.
not as and OBS is not as fun as it used to be. And then they also made it where I have to run 6 accounts instead of just 4. So that kind of stuff made it a little more difficult. But I always said when I was streaming, I'm like, this is educational. This is an educational stream. You watch the stream, you'll learn how not to get ganked. You'll see exactly how I do it. I don't hide. Like, I would hide my scout just so people didn't know where I was, but you'd see the whole process. Like, it's pretty straightforward and yeah, and I mean, it's really the first thing is being at your keyboard. If you're at your keyboard and you get ganked, there's literally no one to blame but yourself. And if you're not at your keyboard, you're still the person to blame. So
so
be at your keyboard. That's be at your keyboard.
I mean, because one of the big things is like there's always a delay in stuff kind of happening, because as soon as if you're at your keyboard, you're watching what's going on. And you're mining, even if you're not aligned out, you can see them. If you're checking your D-scan, first of all, then you really have like a heads up on like what the fuck is coming in, especially the new change to just 0.1. Oh, thank you, CCP,
that's
because
the best thing.
It's much better than 1.0, because 1 AU is a lot of the solar system. It's very I mean, that goes all the way to frickin' Earth. like in distance. So there's a possibility of catching a lot of stuff going down to 0.1. But even then, if you just see somebody warping in, like they've got to drop out of warp, get lock on you, like all of that is just, you just need to press warp as soon as you see somebody coming in on you.
I just like I've always said, if you set them to red, set safety, set code, set Novus Ordo.
Oh yeah, that's a huge one.
Set all of us to red, and if you see 4 or 5 come into local, just dock up. There's no harm in docking up and waiting 15 minutes, because I can tell you this, we don't have the attention span to wait around much longer than that. So we're moving on. If we don't gank you in 15 minutes, we're moving on. I can promise you that. Unless you give us a reason to not move on.
Right, start yelling at you in local and engaging.
If you just shut up and dock up, we will leave. I promise you.
So Partisan, thank you so much for the follow, and Rochaman, where were they? Rochambeau? Bow?
I think it's Rochambeau.
Rochambeau! God damn it,
Yeah.
my brain is like fired.
It's the worst.
So,
It's the worst thing. Trying to read the Twitch names is the worst thing.
Words. Says disable ambient oculation and set post processing to low. It helps a lot with the video card performance. I did this and my video cards isn't using full speed anymore. And I've heard about this. There's some like tweaking that you need to do, because I had some problems with running multiple accounts just recently, and I was like, it was all the DirectX 12 stuff that got introduced. And then also like you can also make sure that you don't have focus mode, which I'm sure if you're multi-boxing already, that's not a big problem.
That was one of the changes I made, where all of you can go into your NVIDIA settings, and all my background clients don't run more than 15 frames a second.
Yeah.
So which is that helped a lot. And then I do when I was streaming the ganking, like my gankers were in potato mode. So the only things you would see full screen were my scout, and so that one would be in full graphics, but all the gankers were in potato mode. So
Phobos says that gankers are businessmen.
It's true. It's true.
I mean, it is a huge thing for the economy. You know, if there wasn't any death in high sec, like that would just make inflation, or it would actually create deflation, because nobody's buying anything in the
Nobody
supply.
would be buying chips. Exactly.
It's too high. So you know, there's a whole economy. You know, there's a reason why there was an economist that was hired at one point in order to come in and evaluate what was going on.
There's also a reason they haven't removed it from the game, because if it was causing people to quit the game like they say, they would have removed it from the game. They removed the old war deck system. They would have removed ganking if it was the problem that people say it is. They would have removed it. But I mean, like, on the safety Discord, we have a kill feed, right? Like a kill feed channel, and like, I mean, how many ganks are we doing a day? Like, you guys think we're destroying the game by killing like 40 ships a day?
Right. Yeah.
We're talking about 40 ships a day.
Right. Yeah, it's not like you're going out decimating the entirety of low sec and high sec.
Right, and the most we can gank is every 15 minutes.
Right.
Like, I don't know, man.
And I think the only problem comes in is if you are focusing or intentionally harassing a specific pilot or group of pilots or system on a regular basis. I think that's the one that people kind of frown upon. And I know, as a fan of your stream, I've never seen you doing that. You move from systems, and I think you've actually, I've blown this guy up recently, and you've moved on from it. So that's the only problem I see. Or it's kind of like that falls in the same character as the stream gankers that people seeing frozen out. And I know he invites it, but you know, they're the other guys out there, and Hateless probably the most famous recent thing, where people are actually watching him stream, hunting him down, and blowing up and messing with what he's been trying to do.
Yeah, there's no like I've always said, stream sniping's bad. Don't stream snipe. It's not a good thing to do. Like, you know, but it's going to happen. That's Eve. That's Eve. Is You're giving out
Yes.
the free intel. I know what I'm streaming. I'm giving out free intel. And
Yep.
you can come and blow me up. You bring the hard counter to what I'm flying. It's going to happen. And I take that risk and I assume that risk.
And I would prefer that the risk that exists, that I can hope for this, for us to have like a civil concept of like, I'm trying to promote the game here, I'm trying to have fun, and if you want to come out and fight me with not the hardest counter in the world, or give me a couple of kills for my 10 thrashers that we've got running around, so if you want to come and fight us and we can kill a couple of your ships so that you can take all 10 of us down, that's kind of fun. But if you're just like dropping everything to like, you get 30 guys drop the facts on like, 5 Gnostises, it's like, okay, I mean, I guess, but in general, I prefer that that's capable for them to do that, because EVE is the spy game, and I am spying on my own self. I am the leader of an alliance that spies on the entire alliance to the entire world, for content. But I've seen a lot of people that have come in and likely were watching the stream and came in to fight me. And was 1v1, maybe in a more powerful ship, and I've lost or won, and those have been fun fights. I get to choose a lot of my fighting in faction warfare and plexes. If you're not paying attention, then that's your fault, but in general, you get to see what the hell is coming in. They've got rid of the worm for the most part now. They've got rid of...
How so?
So there's advanced plexes and navy plexes now. Navy plexes take up 50, or I would say 80% of the plexes, if not maybe 90% of the plexes. Like it's pretty harsh there's a lot of navy plexes and not very many advanced plexes. Now the one thing that I think threw off everybody, and I saw this when I went into the test server, was that if you go into if it's a medium novice or a large Navy site, you'd be like, oh, I'm going to bring my Tech 2 destroyer, or Tech 2 frigate. Nope, that's not allowed. Worms, not allowed.
Oh, wow.
You can't bring a worm into the large anymore.
Wow, that's spectacular.
So the worm is gone.
Fuck worms.
The Tech 2 assault frigate meta that was really strong is gone.
That's fantastic.
There is a lot of complaining that is coming from, and I think that some of it's justified. There's some of these older characters, older people who have been in the game for a long time, and they like to take all the drugs in the world. They like to jump into the most badass worm and go fight 5 people at one time. Yep. And their options have gotten drastically reduced. Also, no more Tech 2 Logi. So without a Navy Logi to substitute, the T1 Logi is okay, but it doesn't let you like really punch above your weight. So if I've got 10 caracals in a thing now, it's hard to not it's like you have to bring 10 or more people to fight them, because if you're less, then you can't really punch way above your weight, because you're already restricted on the size of the ship that you can bring, and now you can't bring the beefy, can't kill these fucking things with a can't kill Logi behind them.
Oh, that's interesting.
So there is some play that's happening there, but I think Battlefields will clear up a lot of the fleet stuff, where it's like people are like, well, 10 now when they bring out 10 or 20, they just bring up 10 or 20 destroyers, and what are we gonna fucking do about that? Or 10 or 20 dragoons? What are we gonna do? There's nothing that we can really do against that besides have 10 or 20 or more of what they have. It's hard to bring in a Logi to do anything like that, because it's all T1. But I think that a lot of that will get cleared up with these battlefields. So they're going to have these, places where we can all kind of congregate with the bigger fleets, and then the smaller fleets, the 5-man fleets, will be inside
Doing
the
the
plexes,
Yeah,
and fighting
This
each
is
other.
great.
And so you should, if you need 5 people, if they have 5 people, you probably are going to need about 5 people in order to take them on, or come up with some strategies. Like, there is tons of different strategies, different bait, and just completely buffing out yourself so that you're all about, repping and healing and stuff like that in order to overtake somebody. And maybe doing spider tanking and stuff like
Right.
that, instead of the having Logi on the field and having to really advance your stuff. I think there's a lot of people who don't want to adapt, and it's always interesting because they eventually do. It's like usually the people that but I feel like it's every time there's a change that just massively nerfs somebody that is just dominating the game. It's like, come on, man, you've figured out the game. Just start. You've got to start new a little bit here and kind
That's
of
right.
relook at the situation that you're in. So what experience have you had with faction warfare? Have you been to faction warfare space at all, or?
I haven't been able to get at my computer much since the new changes went live. So I haven't really had a chance to look at the new changes. But I mean, I joined. It would have been about a year ago. I joined faction warfare, and I was in there for like 4 or 5 months. I meant to spend a week there. Like, literally, I'm like, I'm just gonna do this for a week, and I did it for like 4 or 5 months. I had a blast, and obviously this was before they announced any of the changes, and I just had a feeling, I'm like, I feel like they're gonna touch this, like that they're gonna go after this, because there's like untapped fun here, that if more people were doing this, more people would be having fun in this game. Because like, the big fleets are the big fleets, and you whatever, but like, this is something you could jump in even a year ago, and I'm sure it's better now, but like, I jumped in for like an hour and got 4 or 5 fights, got a bunch of LP. Like, it was a great time, and then I realized, I'm like, well, I'm gonna quit faction warfare but keep fighting because I'm cutting off half of my targets.
That is one
So
of the biggest, roughest things with faction warfare, is to get all these forced blues around you if you're really looking for the quick combat.
Exactly. So now I run around and I'm like, I can fight anybody. So
I think that
I am going to try joining. I'm going to rejoin Amar probably here tomorrow. I got a stream tomorrow, so I want to try it out. So
yeah, awesome. Yeah, and Tuesday is when Battlefields, I hear, is going to be landing. So get yourself set up so that you can join some of the standing fleets that I'm sure the Amara will be having.
yeah.
And yeah, definitely. I really like what they've done. I like how they changed up things a lot. So have you had a chance to take a look at any of the Navy ships at all?
I am told, so I was contracted. I am told it was the first Navy catalyst in the game.
Oh,
That's what
really?
I was told. So it's in my hangar in Jeddah. I haven't used it yet. I had stuff happen this week, so I haven't again really got to play. But I did want to have the first gank with a Navy catalyst, and unfortunately that did not happen. Yeah, so that's what I'm told. I know I have fits for the Coercer. I have a fit for the Catalyst, and I think I have a fit for the Thrasher. I haven't really looked too much at the Quorum. I'm not big on the Kaldari ships, but it looks interesting.
They all look very interesting. I haven't, unfortunately, had much interaction with any of the other ones besides the Navy Catalyst.
Yeah.
Because as soon as I started really figuring out, I had to go figure out what industry is real quick, because in my 15 years of playing Eve, that is very foreign. And I was like, how much are minerals? How much can I fit in my DST? Is it even worth it? Can I just fit more? It's it can be more minerals, and somehow magically minerals get heavier, and I guess not magically, because it's M3 squared, right? So they just you can pile them all together actually, which is good. And I can fit 40, I think it's 40, maybe 50 Navy Catalyst worth of minerals into my DST.
Oh, that's really good.
And so I was like, when I found that out, and I found out that it was like under 10 million or something like that in order to build the Navy Catalyst, and
That's
then it's
fantastic.
10,000 LP. I was like, okay, 40 Navy Catalysts, thank you very much, and I just built them all.
I have 800,000 Amar LP just sitting.
There you go.
That's gonna be a bunch of coursers.
Yeah, and I was like trying to figure out, because one of the things that I wanted to do was build something that had a decent amount of tank, so that it could tank and do some okay damage, but be really good to have with like a 5-man fleet kind of setup. And I feel like the catalyst, I came out with like doing a rail catalyst with an 400 armor plate, ancillary armor repper in order to take advantage of both of its, because it's gets a little bit of a better mass penalty and stuff like that, or like less of a mass penalty for that. So I was like, I've got to use every little bit of this.
I don't know if I think I have them on the test server. I don't think I brought them over to the real server.
Oh no,
they might even be gone. Damn it.
Yep, the great whiteout. But yeah, I really like the catalyst. It does okay damage with rails. I'm able to project out if I need to. I can do good close range if we've got 5 of them in fleet. And then I've kind of messed around with having one with webs, scram, and blasters. So that you can have, pretty decent, you'd get like 2 of those with web and scram, and then the other one, and blasters, and the other ones in rails, and just be able to just lock down one target, and you get about 15,000 EHP out of them. You've got an armor repper, so you're going to be able to hold out for, a minute or so, and be able to actually rep up your shit. So you're talking like 20, plus probably EHP to a certain degree with that repper really helping you out there.
Absolutely.
So
I do like that they got all of them have rep bonuses, and I really like that.
Yeah, it really allows you to, the one thing I've been trying to do was be like, can I do a dual repper setup? And it just is not quite there from what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
It's because
you're talking two armor reps.
Yeah, two an ancillary and a regular armor rep in a 3 low slot ship.
Yeah, it's not enough. Not enough slots.
Yeah, it just so you can't. But I feel like the plate makes up for it in the sense that you can't just be alpha'd off field anymore with them. Like, because
I have this thing with my Galente ships where I like to do the ancillary armor repper, but then hull tank them.
Yes, so that's the or the bulkheads, right?
Yeah, the bulkheads. Yeah,
because I was looking at that, and that's what I did this time around too. And I'm trying to convert some of my.
I'm pretty sure that's what I did with the catalyst. Was I put bulkhead rigs, a damage control, an ancillary armor rep, and probably a mag stab.
Yep.
And then either afterburner, micro, or probably afterburner, scram web, and then I'm sure I went blasters on mine. I don't mess around with my catalysts.
Yeah, no, this is for close range. Like one of the things, if you're sitting inside of a Plex solo, you want that afterburner, blasters, web, scram,
and sit right at 0 on that button.
Just whatever comes in, you're just gonna face plant them in the face.
Yep.
And that is so yeah, I've got the 2 designs for that, and the one thing that I like though is the micro warp drive if you're in a fleet, just so that you can move around if need be.
Oh, for sure.
And chase something if need be, instead of because even if you have one person with a micro warp drive, it's like, okay, I caught him, and it's like, okay, you're like 100
we're all
kilometers
getting there, don't
away.
worry.
Yeah, someday we'll reach you, man.
Go the other way. Go get 50 back and then warp to me.
Right. Yeah. So, what are your opinions at this point on faction warfare? It sounds like you've got a pretty positive. Like you want to come on over and start messing around.
Absolutely.
Are you looking forward to being able to? Are you going to be doing like building your own ships and stuff like that now that BPCs are so cheap?
100%. I'm going to be building. So I have an alt in Mimitar, where I'm going to just suck it because if you've ever watched my stream, I'm like big on the Vigil Fleet issue.
Oh yeah.
Like
Okay. Yep.
That's such an underrated ship. Like I don't lose fights in that ship. Like solo, I if it's a solo fight, I do not lose.
Wow. All right. And this will be a
it-
huge advantage to you now too, because it's
Right.
just going to be faction frigates that you're going to be going after. So if you've got
the only
Vigil
thing I couldn't kill were worms.
there you go. Yep.
Yeah, it would be a draw, and I would just warp away. So I just don't bother fighting worms.
Yep. Now you
but
won't have to worry about that.
I'll literally fight any other. Now, I mean, I have implants and stuff, so I might have a little bit of a cheat going on because I got. But I again, they're not rep implants. They're just what do you call it? The snakes, just to get the little bit extra speed.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yep.
again, I love the Vigil Fleet. I think it's very underrated. But what I was hoping for with this, and again, we're still early with the new faction warfare stuff. And first, I need to not have to leave my corporation. That's my first thing. I just want to
hear
stay in
that's
safety.
Q1. Real quick on that, how are they going to do that?
That's
because
a great
how do you
question.
prevent me from shooting my corp mate or my blue list
Exactly.
that is now a war target for me?
Right.
Are they going to care about that? Is it going to be a thing where it's like, okay, every alliance, in order to participate, does your alliance need to sign up for a specific thing or something like that? But they're not in faction warfare, but they allow you.
I think they promised it without thinking about the ramifications of it, and they're like, oh, this is way more difficult than we thought. So, but again, I really want to join and not have to leave my corp. That's my first thing. But the other thing I was hoping for is that they would do it, that they would have abyssal style flexes, where like I run a filament, not necessarily a filament, but a filament. And I go and do a couple PvE rooms and then end up in a PvP room like the old school abyssal filaments. And then this way you can control what type of ship goes in, what type of implants they have, what type of boosters drugs they're running. Because if you're running a certain drug, you can't activate. If you're running, so this way you could run alpha, like meta 0 ships in these sites, and then that way like when you get to that last room, like it's not going to be someone with high grade nirvanas or high grade crystals. Like you're getting in there and it's going to be the fairest fight possible. That's what I wanted. That's kind of the iteration I wanted on faction warfare.
It's an interesting concept.
Yeah, just because it would be fun to know, hey, what I'm going up against is going to at least be matched with what I'm coming in with.
Right.
There can't be that extra added advantage that I can't.
And other people the getting jumped, people in cloaky ships and stuff
getting
like
jumped.
that.
Exactly. Like it's going to be a 1v1 fight at the end, and and then you do the same as the Abyss. You just get a bunch of LP at the end, right? Instead of the little loot container.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I think one of the things that would have helped out, that's kind of similar to that, would have been, I think they should have kept the novice and made the scout pure tier T1 frigates.
Yes,
and
100%.
Make
and
it
meta
so,
zero.
Everything just for the newbies. Make it half as much and half as much time. Maybe even a little bit less, but it needed to be not that great for LP, but for newbies just to go in there and be like, okay, if I'm gonna fight, I'm gonna fight somebody that is really on par with what I am doing here.
Exactly, and that would be good for getting people into PvP, right? Because that's kind of what the goal of this is to get people who maybe don't normally fight or are new to the game, to get them out there fighting and like learning why Eve's PvP is the best PvP out there.
Yeah, no, there's the only thing I don't like is the instanced part to a certain degree, because it just takes people out of Eve, which is what the battle proving grounds do right now to a certain degree.
Right.
But I don't think it's going to be that much, to be honest.
We've already lost that, though. That's my thing. They've already done it. That argument is over. Like, they're not going to take Abyss out.
Yeah, no, that's true.
If you're going to have it, then let's have another version of it where we can guarantee that there's some like really interesting fair fights happening. And then I love the idea of being able to like, and this is purely like as a streamer, like this is such a selfish streamer thing, but to know that I could just queue up for a fight.
Yeah,
I could just hit the button, and then I know in a matter of 5 minutes I'll have a fight. Like that again, it's extremely selfish, but it's better than roaming around for half an hour and being like, well, we're all people to fight.
Yeah, no, and that's
hopefully, from what I understand right now, is not the problem in faction warfare. So
yeah, no, that has with the focus, the problem that you're having right now in faction warfare, I think, is finding completely solo people, because it's encouraging so much to team up with the 5-man plexes and stuff like that. That people are a little bit more inclined to join up with standing fleet and stuff like that, and maybe be solo, but also have 10 of their buddies around. So if you everybody's like in the same system, so it's not as easy to go, oh, there's only one Keldari in the system now, I'm gonna go find him and kill him.
Right.
There's probably gonna be 5 of them, and maybe some of them are AFK, and now that front lines you can dock in frontline systems, you can dock in NPC stations, you can dock in you get tether. There's no problems it being on a frontline system. Who knows, where most of these people are, like, that are out and about, and they will all of a sudden appear out of nowhere because one person is plexing and gets attacked by some dude, and then they just call in the cavalry. And so I think that has come a little bit harder, but there is lots of ways of I have still found that there's still a lot of people out there looking for solo PvP. The one thing that I do is I usually try and set myself up as the hunted instead of the hunter.
That's one of the best ways to get solo fights.
Yeah, it's just like, I'm just going to sit here in this Tristan inside of scouts on the frontline systems and just wait for somebody to warp in on me, and I've leveled the playing field as much as I possibly can I've done all the stuff that I can do in order to make it so that I might be advantageous in this. And if I come out on top, I come out on top. If not, who cares? Like, it's
now, are you flying
Tristan? Like,
exactly. Are you flying a Newt Tristan or?
Yeah. So I do a weird Newt Tristan though. I do 2 Newts and a Nos with a web and a scram and an afterburner. So that makes it so that, especially if I'm doing like baiting for fleets and stuff like that, you can hold down the target with the scram and the web. Like, the one thing I don't like about the Punisher, I love the Punisher for its just super tankiness, but then all of a sudden you get to the, like, oh, they just had an afterburner and burned away from you.
Exactly.
Or they had a micro warp drive and just got out farther from than what you could do, and you didn't have that scram and web to hold them down and slow them down just enough to catch them, actually. So, Nahiran, thank you so much for the follow. Rami, thank you so much for the follow as well. Asia Park did ask.
Yeah. I was just going to mention that. Yeah. Go ahead with the Asia Park comment.
Asia Park says, just curious, why does a fair fight matter to a player that likes ganking?
I mean, we all want fair fights, right? Like, I mean, that's just life. You want fair fights. I don't know.
I'm gonna say that. So I did ganking back in the day. I do a lot of gate camping and stuff like that, and just like straight up, like, we have 15 people and we jump on a hurricane or a tempest, and there's a lot of things that kind of come into the factor of what EVE is that allows for these things and make those things fun, but also trying to get as even of a playing ground as possible in those conditions is almost impossible. Whereas getting the filament stuff and having you actually have to go to an abyssal battleground area and be in a fair fight with EVE mechanics is only possible through that. I've messed around with the battlegrounds and stuff like that to a small degree. I'm not very good at Eve, so I don't play them because it just doesn't, it's not cost effective in any way, shape, or form. It's just about going and getting some fun fights.
Right.
But it is an interesting thing in Eve that you finally got it to the point where everything is fair, basically.
Yeah.
And that's something that you don't get anywhere else in Eve. Because it's, no matter what, even if you're like, I agree to this fight, and we're going to go 1v1 at the sun, there's tons of different stuff that can factor into that fight that you're just not aware of. Like,
right.
Did he get a boost just before going in?
Right.
Is he taking drugs and stuff like that? Like,
Yep.
What are the, all these different factors that can come into play that you're just not aware of, that the Proving Grounds really does kind of fair it on up. And if it was a faction warfare version of it, I think that was all like T1 frigates just all the fucking time would be really
T1
cool.
T1 Meta Zero is like, for me, that would be like the training wheels PvP for people. Like, this is, hey, you want to learn how to PvP? Here's 50 rifters. Go lose them in this.
Right. Yep.
And yes, it is okay to dish it out and still desire fair fights. It is okay to do that, Asia, just so you know.
I just want to address that a little bit further and just say that ganking is one part of fighting in this game. It's the same as blopping, it's the same as wormhole rolling, it's the same as gate camping. Someone's going to jump in, they're not ready for the fight, and you're going to take them out. It's just one game style, or one game within this game of 1,000 games.
Yep. And this is 1,000 games wearing a trench coat. That's what EVE Online is.
You sound like a modern day politician in the U.S. Defund the policy, but pay for private security.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Well,
it's all about having fun. Like, all three of us here have ganked.
Yep.
Yeah,
but it's again, it's just one game style.
I think it's a facet that makes Eve very interesting, and that I like all of it. I've been on the other side of getting ganked and getting messed with. I just actually, so real quick before we kind of wrap up here, there was a Halloween event that happened. And I just wanted to see if you had any stories about Halloween. Real quick, the one that I have is that one of my buddies was moving his his freighter with like 20 of my or 40 of my Gnostises or something like that. And he forgot that it was Halloween. And so he got exploded. I believe it was Safety who got him.
Probably.
It was an interesting thing because after that he was like, "Oh shit, I'm not playing until Halloween's over with." Like I gotta take a step back because. So were you guys out and about like really heavily during the Halloween event because of the 90% drop?
Yeah, 90% drop. You kind of have to be. You would be silly not to be. I know we were doing coordinated fleets in Del Tol. That was where we were for that. So, and I believe I might have been on that gank. I don't know for sure, but I might have been on that one. But yeah, no, we again, it's one aspect of the game that I enjoy, and I like the interactions I get with players when I'm ganking. I do also enjoy fair fights and fighting 1v1 and fighting in low sec. I can enjoy multiple facets of this game. And I think everybody should enjoy multiple facets of this game. So,
yeah, no, that's one of the things that makes Eve beautiful is that it is like I said, I've been playing for 15 years and I didn't know anything about industry really. I thought that there was a skill that would reduce the amount of minerals that I needed to, but that's all.
Is there not?
No, I don't think so.
Oh wow. Okay.
I think it's just time reductions from everything that I see, and it only takes like an hour to build a frigate and like 2 hours to build a destroyer. So
beautiful.
Yeah, 40 destroyers was just like popped out real quick. Like
I learned more about industry in the last 45 seconds than I have in the previous When I started playing in 09, 13 years.
So yeah, no, exactly. That's and that's what makes Eve beautiful, is that it is such a huge game. And I think that there is room for a little bit more of a theme parky kind of thing that is faction warfare. Seems to be pulling out a lot more of this PvE, PvP content, especially with Battlefields coming. I think that'll be huge. And I think that there is a huge amount of play for letting CCP come in and play around in faction warfare and mess with us and do weird stuff, bring, events and weird suns exploding. Like that's some cool stuff that is going on out there, and a lot more cool stuff to come. Before we go, I want to make sure that you get a little bit of a time slot here to talk about any projects that you're working on, and any shout outs that you want to give.
No, I mean, I took the last week or so off, had some personal life stuff, so I will be back streaming tomorrow. My Twitch channel is twitch.tv/Zaenis Desef. Yeah, I'm gonna be hitting faction warfare pretty hard this week. So I'm really looking forward to that. I do have some YouTube video ideas that I've been working on, with faction warfare in mind. So that should be interesting. Hopefully in the next couple weeks I'll have those done. So that's it. Oh, and obviously shout out Praise Ico, as always.
Awesome. Yeah, Praise Ico. Well, thank you all for watching. If you're interested in joining up with the war effort, go ahead and put an application into Golden Age Stories in-game. We run the Federation Frontline Alliance, and of course the Federation Frontline Report here. If you watch us, you can watch us live on Twitch every Sunday at 2300 hours because of daylight savings. We need to get rid of daylight savings, by the way.
100%.
That is 5 p.m. Central Time. If you miss the show live, you can always watch us or listen to us on our podcast, the Federation Frontline Report. You can find that on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, and pretty much any other podcasting platform that's out there. We do have a video version or just the audio. For those that are on the video, what we have in the background here is the new map. It is fucking beautiful. This is a huge upgrade. I've never thought that CCP could make a map that I would use because I just go to Dotland maps for 90% of the time. But I use this all the time now. And it looks kind of like Stellaris a little bit.
Why does the regular map not look like this?
I don't, yeah, no,
It's
exactly. This is beautiful.
The regular map sucks. This
Yes.
is usable.
The old map for this was it was just dots in space with no lines at all, like, and you couldn't understand anything. This is really cool though. They give you war zone details, let you know what's on the front line, how contested things are. You
guys are really kicking the snot out of the Caldari, eh?
It's a back and forth kind of thing. There's there is some systems that are getting pushed really hard. The Caldari are pushing, it looks like, a little bit harder for a couple of the systems, but we're pushing really hard for Lattisteer and Old Man Star right now.
Yeah.
And it seems like they have backed off and they are focusing much more on like Mataral and OICX, and Melmanual is being pushed really hard by them. So yeah, there is a lot of really cool stuff that you can kind of see here. A lot easier to understand where to go and fight these days, and the advantage system is all messed up. We'll probably talk about that on our next show. Hopefully they get that fixed here pretty soon.
Yeah, these 1/10 of a ticks are just painful.
Well, the 1/10 of a tick I think is intended. So there is this. They don't want systems flipping very quickly. They want.
Oh,
systems,
they're not.
They're
not. I've been doing it for 2 days and we got nothing. So.
I mean, we've got something. We've definitely been pushing. It was like 20% day one, or 10% day one, and then day two is like 20. We're on like day 5 and we're at like 50-60%, and that's I think it's supposed to be a slower roll though. But thank you all for watching, thank you all for listening, and thank you very much for coming on It's been really awesome talking to you, Zaenis, and I look forward to fighting you one of these days. So.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
But
I'll
it's
come
not
down
too
with my
late to
Vigil
join.
fleet.
It's not too late to join Galmil, though. So
I prefer the space out in Mimitarmar. I like I know the system's better out there.
Well, you can just join us and then just go out there, and you can still flex. But then you'd be flexing for the Mimitar, technically.
Oh yeah, I would. Yeah.
But
yeah.
I mean, come on, man. I just, my whole thing about I can't roleplay as an MR. Like it just there's something wrong in my soul that just
well, my character's Mimitar, but I fight for the Amar, so like
you're an oddball,
right? No.
Awesome. Thank you so much, and have a great night.